Here are some law of the Family Code of the Philippines, Title 8 Support. Number 1 is the Article 194. Support comprises everything indispensable for sustenance, dwelling, clothing, medical attendance, education, and transportation in keeping with the financial capacity of the family. The education of the person entitled to be supported referred to in the preceding paragraph shall include his schooling or training for some profession, trade or vocation, even beyond the age of majority. Transportation shall include expenses in going to and from school or to and from place of work. Another one is the Article 105. Subject to the provisions of the succeeding articles, the following are obliged to support each other to the whole extent set forth in the preceding article. Number 1 is the spouses. Number 2, legitimate ascendants and descendants. Number 3, parents and their legitimate children, and the legitimate and illegitimate children of the latter. Number 4, parents and their illegitimate children, and the legitimate and illegitimate children of the latter. And lastly, number 5, the legitimate brothers and sisters, whether of full or half blood. There's a law also that in Article 196, it states that the brothers and sisters not legitimately related, whether of the full or half blood, are likewise bound to support each other to the full extent set forth in Article 194. If we're going back to the Article 194, except only when the need for support of the brother or sister being of age is due to a cause imputable to the claimant's fault or negligence. In Article 197, it states, in case of legitimate ascendants, descendants, whether legitimate or illegitimate, and brothers and sisters, whether legitimately or illegitimately related, only the separate property of the person obliged to give support shall be answerable, provided that in case the obligor has no separate property, the absolute community or the conjugal partnership, if financially capable, shall advance the support, which shall be deducted from the share of the spouse obliged upon the liquidation of the absolute community or of the conjugal partnership. Lastly, during the proceedings for legal separation or for annulment of marriage and for the declaration of nullity of marriage, the spouses and their children shall be supported from the properties of the absolute community or the conjugal partnership. After the final judgment granting the petition, the obligation of mutual support between the spouses ceases. However, in case of legal separation, the court may order that the guilty spouse shall give support to the innocent one, specifying the terms of such order.
Article 199 states that whenever two or more persons are obliged to give support, the liability shall devolve upon the following persons in the order herein provided. Number 1 is the spouse. Number 2, the descendants in the nearest degree. Number 3, the ascendants in the nearest degree. And number 4, the brothers and sisters. Article 200 states that when the obligation to give support falls upon two or more persons, the payment of the same shall be divided between them in proportion to the resources of each. However, in case of urgent need and by special circumstances, the judge may order only one of them to furnish the support provisionally, without prejudice to his right to claim from the other obligors the share due from them. When two or more recipients at the same time claim support from one and the same person legally obliged to give it, should the latter not have sufficient means to satisfy all claims, the orders established in the preceding article shall be followed, unless the concurrent obliges should be the spouse and the child subject to parental authority, in which case the child shall be preferred. Article 201 states that the amount of support in the cases referred to in Articles 195 and 196 shall be in proportion to the resources or means of the giver and to the necessities of the recipient. Article 202 also states that support in the cases referred to in the preceding articles shall be reduced or increased proportionately, according to the reduction or increase of the necessities of the recipients and the resources or means of the person obliged to furnish the same. Article 203 states that the obligation to give support shall be demandable from the time the person has a right to receive the same needs it for maintenance, but it shall not be paid except from the date of judicial or extrajudicial demand. Support pendente light may be claimed in accordance with the rules of court. Payment shall be made within the first 5 days of each corresponding month or when the recipient dies. His/hers shall not be obliged to return what he has received in advance.
Article 204. Article 204 states that the person obliged to give support shall have the option to fulfill the obligation either by paying the allowance fixed or by receiving and maintaining in the family dwelling the person who has the right to receive support. The latter alternative cannot be availed in case there is moral or legal obstacle thereof. Article 205. The right to receive support under this title, as well as any money or property obtained as such support, shall not be levied upon an attachment or execution. Article 206. When, without the knowledge of the person obliged to give support, it is given by a stranger, the latter shall have a right to claim the same from the former, unless it appears that he gave it without intention of being reimbursed. Article 207. When the person obliged to support another unjustly refuses or fails to give support when urgently needed by the latter, any third person may furnish support to the needy individual, with right of reimbursement from the person obliged to give support. This article shall particularly apply when the father or mother of a child under the age of majority unjustly refuses to support or fails to give support to the child when urgently needed. Article 208. In case of contractual support or that given by will, the excess in amount beyond the required for legal support shall be subject to levy on attachment or execution. Furthermore, contractual support shall be subject to adjustment whenever modification is necessary due to changes of circumstances manifestly beyond the contemplation of the parties.
Here are the advantages of the Title 8 support. Number one, it could provide the needs of the family. Number two, it will be fair to the part of the family because the support will be divided equally or once the other one is financially capable. Number three, this will give a legal obligation to the family to support each other in terms of sustenance and other expenses.
And for the advantages, so the first one is expenses would be divided to each member of the family. Law will oblige each family member to give support. However, in case of urgent need and by special circumstances, the judge may order only one of them to furnish the support provisionally if the other one is financially capable.
In Article 204 to 208 stated the obligation of financial support. The obligation of financially support of a child can continue long beyond the age of 16 where education or vocational training applies. Child support covers expenses for children such as food, clothes, school costs, and other extracurricular activities. The obligation to give support shall be demandable from the time that the person who has the right to receive the same needs for maintenance, but it shall not be paid except from the date of judicial or extrajudicial demand.
So how is it special? It makes special by supporting each other that could help the family to achieve the fairness. Since it is already part of the law, this means that no one could complain it in terms of helping the family or dividing the expenses.
It is special because the law obliges families to support each other. If support falls upon two or more persons, the payment of the same shall be divided, and the person who obliged to give support should fulfill the obligation by paying the allowance fees, or by receiving and maintaining in the family dwelling the person who has a right to receive support.
It makes special when they are devoted to all sort of things that supports a child's well-being, help cover the cost of necessities for children, and also help pay for their education by way of school tuitions, supplies, tutors, and even lunch money.